The most devastating thing you can do to someone isn't confrontation. It isn't anger. It isn't revenge. It's complete and total indifference. When you stop reacting, stop engaging, stop giving them access to your attention, you become untouchable. And that terrifies people more than any argument ever could. Today, I'm going to show you the dark psychology of strategic indifference. Why attention is the most valuable currency you control. Why the people who react least have the most power. And how ignoring someone done correctly can shift entire power dynamics without you saying a single word. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Modern psychology confirms it. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the ability to withhold your attention might be the most dangerous weapon in your psychological arsenal. Let's dive in. Before we go any further, I need to be crystal clear about something. What I'm teaching you today is powerful. The ability to strategically ignore people, to withhold attention, to remain indifferent. This can shift relationships, negotiations, and social dynamics in your favor. Use this to protect yourself from manipulation. Use it to maintain your boundaries. Use it to stop giving power to people who don't deserve it. Do not use this as emotional abuse. Do not use the silent treatment to punish people who care about you. Do not weaponize indifference to hurt people who are genuinely trying to connect with you. There's a massive difference between strategic indifference toward people trying to manipulate you and emotional cruelty toward people who love you. One is self-protection. The other is abuse. Know the difference, always. Now, let's talk about why ignoring someone is so psychologically devastating. Humans are hardwired for connection. We're social creatures. Our survival throughout evolution depended on being part of the group. And being ignored, being excluded, that triggered the same brain regions as physical pain. There are studies using fMRI brain scans that show when people experience social rejection, the anterior cingulate cortex lights up the same region that processes physical pain. Your brain literally interprets being ignored as being hurt. This is why the silent treatment is so painful. This is why being left on read feels terrible. This is why when someone you care about stops responding, it creates anxiety spiraling into obsession. Your brain treats social exclusion as a survival threat. Most people chase attention from everyone. Powerful people understand that withholding attention is the ultimate power move. Think about the last time someone completely ignored you, not argued with you, not debated you, just acted like you didn't exist. How did that feel? Probably worse than if they had yelled at you, right? Because when someone argues with you, at least you matter. You have their attention. You have impact. When someone ignores you, you're irrelevant. And irrelevance is psychological death. Let me show you exactly how this works across different contexts and why it's so devastatingly effective. First, let's talk about conflict and arguments. When someone attacks you verbally, emotionally, trying to provoke you, they're expecting a reaction. They want you to defend yourself, to engage, to argue back, because as long as you're reacting, they have power over you. They're controlling your emotional state. Watch what most people do. Someone insults them, and they immediately fire back. Someone criticizes them, and they rush to defend themselves. Someone tries to bait them into an argument, and they take the bait every single time. They think they're standing up for themselves. Actually, they're dancing to someone else's tune. Now watch what powerful people do. Nothing. They hear the insult, they register it, and then they just move on. Like the person who said it is so beneath their concern that responding would be a waste of energy. This is strategic indifference, and it's absolutely devastating. Real scenario. You're in a meeting. A colleague makes a passive-aggressive comment about your work, clearly trying to undermine you in front of others. Most people, actually, if you look at the data, and they launch into a defensive explanation, getting visibly flustered, giving that colleague exactly the reaction they wanted. Powerful move. You hear the comment. You pause for half a second. Then you continue with what you were saying as if they hadn't spoken at all. You don't acknowledge it. You don't defend. You don't react. What happens? The colleague looks petty. You look unbothered. And everyone in that room registers that their attack had zero impact on you. They're irrelevant to you. Most people defend themselves from every attack. Powerful people ignore attacks from people who don't matter. Here's the psychology. When you defend yourself, you're implicitly validating that the person's opinion matters enough to warrant a response. You're giving them significance. When you ignore them completely, you're communicating something far more devastating. You're not even important enough for me to engage with. Because they wanted a reaction, they wanted to affect you. And you just demonstrated that they can't. Now, there's a crucial distinction here. This works with people who are trying to manipulate you, provoke you, or waste your time. This is a defense mechanism against bad faith actors. This does not work in healthy relationships where someone has a legitimate concern. If your partner says, "Hey, something you did hurt me," and you just ignore them, you're not being powerful. You're being a terrible partner. Strategic indifference is for people playing games, not for people genuinely trying to communicate. Know the difference. Second application: negotiations and leverage. In any negotiation, salary, business deal, relationship boundaries, whatever, the person who cares less has more power. That's just the reality. If you're desperate for the job, you'll accept a lower salary. If they can walk away easily, they'll get better terms. It's simple supply and demand applied to human attention and investment. And here's where strategic indifference becomes a negotiation superpower. When you can genuinely detach from the outcome, when you can say, "I'm interested, but I don't need this," you completely shift the power dynamic. Real scenario: you're negotiating salary for a new position. You really want this job. You need it. Most people, they show their desperation. They respond to every email immediately. They're available whenever the company wants to talk. They negotiate from a place of need. The company senses this. They know you're desperate, so they lowball you. And you probably accept it because you can't risk losing the opportunity. Strategic approach: you want the job, but you act like you have options even if you don't. You don't respond to emails immediately. When they offer a number, you don't jump at it. You say, "Let me think about that," and then you go silent for a day or two. You're demonstrating through your behavior that you're not desperate, that you have other options, that you can walk away. And suddenly, they're more motivated to sweeten the offer, because you're not acting like someone they can. Lowball. Most people negotiate from desperation, and everyone can sense it. Powerful people create the perception of indifference, which creates leverage. Now, I'm not saying lie about having other offers. I'm saying control your behavior so you're not broadcasting desperation even if you feel it internally. The person who responds instantly to every text, who's always available, who's clearly waiting by the phone, that person has no leverage. The person who has a life, who takes time to respond, who seems genuinely unbothered by delays, that person has leverage even if their actual situation is identical. It's all about perceived scarcity of your attention and investment. Here's another example in dating and relationships. When you're dating someone and you're always available, always initiating, always chasing, you have no power in that dynamic. You're the one investing more. You're the one who cares more, and the other person can sense that. They start taking you for granted. They text you when convenient for them. They don't put in effort because they don't have to. You're always there. Now watch what happens when you create some space, when you don't respond immediately, when you have your own life and interests that don't revolve around them, when you're genuinely busy and not just playing hard to get, suddenly you become more interesting, more valuable. Because you're scarce, your attention isn't guaranteed. Most people think being available shows interest. Actually, being scarce creates attraction. But here's the ethical line. Don't play games with people who genuinely care about you. If someone is treating you well, treating them poorly to maintain power makes you a manipulative person. Strategic indifference is for the early stages when someone is testing your boundaries, or when someone is taking you for granted. It's a recalibration tool, not a permanent relationship strategy. Once you're in a committed, healthy relationship, this shouldn't be necessary, because healthy relationships are built on mutual investment, not power dynamics. Use this to protect yourself early on. Don't use it to torture someone who loves you. Third application, social status and respect. You know what kills your social status faster than anything? Being desperate for validation, trying too hard, caring too much what people think. When you're constantly seeking approval, reacting to every slight, defending yourself from every criticism, you look weak. Even if you're right, even if you're justified. The optics are terrible. People respect those who seem unbothered, those who don't need the group's validation, those who can stand alone without anxiety. This is the law of least interest from sociology. In any interaction, the person who appears to care least about the outcome has the most social power. Watch high school social dynamics. The popular kids aren't popular because they're trying hard to be liked. They're popular because they seem indifferent to whether you like them or not. That indifference is attractive. It signals high status. Real scenario, you're at a social event. Someone makes a joke at your expense. Everyone's watching to see how you react. Most people, they get defensive. They try to explain why the joke isn't fair. They look hurt. Or they try to make a comeback joke and it comes off as bitter. Powerful move. You smile slightly, maybe even laugh along, and then you just move on. You don't dwell. You don't defend. You act like it's so beneath you that it's not even worth addressing seriously. What happens? The person who made the joke looks like they're trying too hard. You look secure and unbothered. And everyone registers that you're not easily rattled. Most people react to every provocation and look reactive. Powerful people ignore most provocations and look unshakable. Here's the psychology. Reactions signal that something got to you, that you're affected, that the person has power over your emotional state. Non-reaction signals that you're operating on a different level, that petty stuff doesn't reach you, that you're unmoved by what would bother others. And that's high status. Quick question. Are you someone who lets things go easily? Or do you dwell on what people say about you? No judgment, just curious. But here's where people get this wrong. There's a difference between genuine indifference and performative indifference. If you're pretending not to care while secretly obsessing, people sense that. It comes off as fake, as try hard. As someone who's actually very bothered but trying to hide it, real indifference comes from genuine abundance. From having enough going on in your life that one person's opinion, one opportunity, one relationship outcome genuinely doesn't make or break you. That's why successful people seem so unbothered. It's not an act. They genuinely have enough opportunities, relationships, and self-worth that any single thing not working out doesn't devastate them. If you want to master strategic indifference, you need to build a life where you're not desperate, where you have options, where you have self-worth that doesn't depend on any single person or outcome. That's the foundation. Without it, you're just pretending, and pretending doesn't work long-term. Now let's talk about the dark side of this because it exists, and you need to understand it. Ignoring people can become a form of emotional abuse when used in intimate relationships. The silent treatment, where you completely shut someone out as punishment, is a manipulation tactic used by narcissists and abusers. There's a difference between strategic indifference. This person is trying to revoke me, so I'm not giving them the reaction they want. Emotional abuse. My partner upset me, so I'm going to completely ignore them for days to punish them and make them desperate for my attention. The first is self-protection. The second is cruelty. If you're using indifference to make people suffer, to control them through anxiety, to punish them for not complying with your wishes, you're not being strategic, you're being abusive. And here's the thing, it works. That's why abusers use it. The silent treatment is devastatingly effective at controlling people because it triggers that primal fear of abandonment and social exclusion. But just because something works doesn't mean it's ethical. Most manipulators use indifference to control people. Ethical people use indifference to protect themselves from manipulation. The question you need to ask yourself, am I withdrawing my attention to protect my boundaries? Or am I withdrawing my attention to hurt someone and make them chase me? If it's the first, you're using this knowledge defensively. If it's the second, you're using it as a weapon against people who don't deserve it. Real scenario distinction. Ethical use. Someone keeps texting you trying to start arguments, dragging you into drama. You stop responding. You block them if necessary. You remove yourself from the dynamic because it's toxic and you don't owe them your attention. Abusive use. Your partner does something minor that annoys you. Instead of talking about it like an adult, you give them the silent treatment for 3 days. You watch them spiral into anxiety and self-blame. You enjoy the power of making them chase your approval. See the difference? One is boundary setting. One is punishment. Let's talk about attention as currency, because this is the framework that makes everything click. Your attention is the most valuable thing you have. It's finite. It's irreplaceable. Once you give it to something, that time and mental energy is gone forever. Most people give their attention away for free. They respond to every notification. They engage with every provocation. They give mental real estate to people who don't deserve it. Think about how much of your day is spent thinking about things that don't matter, replaying arguments with people you don't respect, checking what your ex is doing on social media, reading comments from strangers who are trying to upset you. All of that is your attention being spent on things that don't serve you. Most people treat their attention like it's worthless. Powerful people guard their attention like it's the most valuable resource they have, because it is. When you start treating your attention as valuable, you naturally become more selective about where you invest it. You stop engaging with time wasters. You stop arguing with people who aren't arguing in good faith. You stop giving emotional energy to situations that don't deserve it. And paradoxically, when you become selective with your attention, it becomes more valuable to others. Because it's scarce. Real scenario. 2 colleagues at work, both equally competent. Colleague A is always available, responds to every email within minutes, takes on every extra task people ask for, is in every meeting even when it's not relevant, constantly seeking validation and approval. Colleague B is selective, responds when it makes sense, says no to tasks that don't align with priorities, only attends meetings where they add value, doesn't need constant approval. Who gets more respect? Who has more influence? Who gets promoted faster? Almost always colleague B, because their attention and time are clearly valuable. When they engage with something, it matters. When they say yes to something, it's significant. Colleague A's attention is C. Heap. It's easy to get, so it's taken for granted. This is basic economics applied to human interaction. Scarcity creates value. Abundance destroys it. Now, how do you actually implement this without becoming a cold, sociopathic person who ignores everyone? First, distinguish between people who deserve your attention and people who don't. Your family, your close friends, your partner, your team at work. These people deserve your full attention when it matters. Don't play games with them. Be present. Be engaged. The person trying to bait you into online arguments, the toxic ex who keeps trying to pull you back into drama, the colleague who's trying to undermine you, random haters. These people don't deserve your attention. They get strategic indifference. Second, practice the pause. When someone does something that would normally trigger you to react immediately, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, does this person or situation deserve my attention and energy right now? If yes, respond thoughtfully. If no, ignore it completely and move on with your day. Most people are reactive. They respond to every stimulus immediately. You're going to train yourself to be selective. Third, build a life you don't need to escape from. The reason you have attention to waste is because you're avoiding something. You're bored, you're procrastinating, you're lonely, you're anxious. Build a life that's engaging enough that you naturally don't have excess attention to give away. When you're genuinely busy with meaningful work, fulfilling relationships, and engaging hobbies, you don't have time to engage with nonsense. Your indifference becomes genuine because you're genuinely occupied with better things. Fourth, master your emotions. Strategic indifference only works if you're actually indifferent. If you're seething inside while pretending not to care, it shows. Your body language betrays you. Your tone betrays you. People sense the incongruence. Work on actually letting go, not just performing letting go. This might mean therapy. This might mean meditation. This might mean developing genuine self-worth that doesn't depend on external validation. But however you do it, you need to reach a place where you're not pretending to be unbothered. You're actually unbothered. Most people fake indifference while secretly caring deeply. Powerful people cultivate genuine indifference toward things that don't matter. Let's talk about specific situations where strategic indifference is most effective. Situation 1. Someone is fishing for a reaction. They post something on social media clearly directed at you. They make comments designed to provoke you. They tell mutual friends things hoping it gets back to you. Most people take the bait. They respond publicly or privately. They defend themselves. They engage. Powerful move. Complete silence. Don't acknowledge it. Don't address it. Live your life like it never happened. This drives them crazy because they want the reaction. They want the drama, and you're denying them the satisfaction. Situation 2. Someone is testing your boundaries. They show up late repeatedly. They forget commitments. They treat your time as less valuable than theirs. Most people either explode in anger or passively accept it while building resentment. Powerful move. Stop making yourself available. Stop accommodating the behavior. Without anger, without explanation, just become less accessible to them. When they notice and ask about it, you can calmly say, I'm prioritizing people who respect my time. No lecture, no anger, just a boundary enforced through action. Situation 3. Someone is trying to manipulate you emotionally. They're using guilt, shame, obligation, or fear to control your behavior. Most people either comply to avoid conflict or fight back by explaining why they shouldn't have to comply. Powerful move. I'm not going to engage with this conversation. And then you don't. You exit. You change the subject. You ignore follow-up attempts to guilt trip you. You're not explaining yourself. You're not justifying. You're simply not participating in their manipulation attempt. Situation 4. Someone is playing status games. They're trying to one-up you, diminish your accomplishments, subtly undermine you to elevate themselves. Most people either compete directly or get defensive. Powerful move. Genuine disinterest. Let them win whatever status competition they're having in their head. You're playing a different game. Their need to prove superiority isn't your concern. Often, just a non-committal good for you followed by changing the subject is enough. You're not competing. You're not engaging. They're playing alone. Now let's address the obvious question. Doesn't this make you cold? Doesn't this damage relationships? It depends entirely on how and when you use it. If you're using strategic indifference with everyone about everything, yes, you'll become isolated, and people will think you because you are being. If you're using it selectively, protecting yourself from manipulators, maintaining boundaries with people who don't respect you, refusing to engage with bad faith actors, then no, it doesn't damage relationships. It protects you while preserving your energy for relationships that actually matter. The key is discernment. With people you love and respect, be present, be engaged, be vulnerable. Give them your full attention when it matters. With people trying to manipulate or waste your time, strategic indifference. Protect your boundaries. Guard your attention. It's not about being cold to everyone. It's about being selective about where you invest your finite emotional energy. Real example. Your best friend needs to talk about a problem they're having. You drop everything and give them your full attention. That's appropriate investment in a relationship that matters. Your toxic ex texts you trying to start drama. You don't respond. You delete the message and move on with your day. That's appropriate boundary setting with someone who doesn't deserve your attention. Same person using two different approaches based on who deserves what. That's healthy. Here's the most important thing I want you to understand. Strategic indifference isn't about not caring about anything. It's about caring deeply about the right things and refusing to waste energy on the wrong things. Machiavelli understood that power comes from emotional control, that the person who can remain unmoved while others are emotional has a massive advantage. But he also understood that this doesn't mean being emotionless. It means choosing when to engage and when to withhold. You should care deeply about your family, your close relationships, your meaningful work, your values. Pour your attention and energy into those. But the person trying to provoke you online, the colleague playing office politics, the friend who's always creating drama, the ex who can't let go, they don't get your emotional energy. They get indifference. Most people give their best energy to their worst situations. Powerful people give their best energy to their best situations and nothing to the rest. When you master this, when you can genuinely be indifferent to things that don't serve you while being fully engaged with things that do, you become extremely difficult to manipulate, control, or throw off balance. Because the only leverage people have over you is your reaction. If you don't give them that, they have nothing. You become like water. You can't punch water. You can't anger water. You can't manipulate water. It just flows around obstacles and continues on its path. That's the power of strategic indifference. You're not fighting. You're not defending. You're not reacting. You're just unmoved, and that's far more powerful than any aggressive response could be. Let me give you one final framework to take away. The attention hierarchy. Tier 1, your inner circle, family, close friends, partner. They get your full attention, vulnerability, and engagement. You show up for them. You invest here. Tier 2, your professional network and acquaintances, respectful, professional attention. You're present when interacting, but you maintain boundaries around your personal time and energy. Tier 3, neutral strangers, polite but brief attention. You're courteous, but you don't invest deeply. Tier 4, bad actors, manipulators, time wasters, strategic indifference. They get nothing. You don't engage. You don't react. You treat them as if they don't exist. Most people treat everyone the same. They give the same level of attention to their best friend and to some troll online. That's insane. You need different attention strategies for different tiers. And the faster you can identify which tier someone belongs in, the better you can allocate your finite attention appropriately. So, here's what I want you to take away from this. Attention is your most valuable currency. Most people give it away freely to anyone who demands it. That makes them reactive, exhausted, and easy to manipulate. Strategic indifference, the ability to completely ignore people in situations that don't deserve your attention, is a superpower. It protects your boundaries, maintains your emotional equilibrium, and shifts power dynamics in your favor. But this only works if you use it ethically. Protect yourself from manipulation. Set boundaries with people who don't respect you. Refuse to engage with bad faith actors. Do not use this to emotionally abuse people who care about you. Do not weaponize the silent treatment in healthy relationships. Do not confuse strategic indifference with being a cold, unfeeling person. Master the ability to be genuinely unbothered by things that don't matter, while being fully present for things that do. That's the real skill. If this video changed how you think about attention and power dynamics, hit that like button. Subscribe for more content on psychology, influence, and human behavior. Drop a comment. What's one thing you're going to stop giving your attention to starting today? Remember, the person who cares least has the most power. Not because they're heartless, because they know what deserves their care and what doesn't. Be selective with your attention. It's the most powerful thing you control. I'll see you in the next one.